Hi.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions, we'll get away. This is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go. Let's be free with me. Be free. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
Hello, everybody. Are you there, Duncan? Have you managed to join us?
I might have been able to join you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, let's try. Let's see. Hey,
Hey.
hello. We were having terrible technical problems just before we started, but it's thanks very much, Kira, for potentially having to do the whole thing. But so I'm joined this evening by Kira, who's on live satellite link up from Brazil, and somehow
Hello.
that's working much better than than direct from Yorkshire. But yeah, and we're doing liberalism this evening after doing a bit of conservatism last week. Of course, if you've not seen last week's, it's a good one to catch up on, and you can watch it on catch up. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody who has. Sorry, it's a little bit of a late start. We were having a bit of a minor scramble round and panic just before. On that note, it is possible when I press my button to get the PowerPoint up that it's going to have gone awry since we set it up before we started, because I had to restart the computer and log off and log on and all that kind of thing. So fingers crossed, but I'll probably have to do a little bit of an adjustment. So we'll get cracking, but there might be a little bit of to do. Oh, that's
Hey.
not it's not too bad. I'll I'll tidy things up a little bit while Kira introduces what we're going to be doing, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah. So we're looking at liberalism today, and it's really good to put some answers in the chat, even if you're not 100% sure of what the answer is, because it just kind of gets a conversation going. And it's through making mistakes that we kind of realize the areas that we need to work on for our revision and things like that. So please contribute, participate, ask us any questions you want to ask as well. And yeah, so the first kind of activity is going to be one where you're going to categorize and you're going to think, okay, which of the statements are for classical liberalism, which are for modern liberalism, and which are for both. Because, of course, when we think about liberalism as an ideology, even though it's one ideology, there seems to be some sort of fragmentation along the way between classical and modern liberalism. So, what is it they have in common, and what are the key things that make them different? You've got about a minute or 60 seconds to try and think about how many of those you can categorize.
Here we go.
You could just write the number as well, you don't have to write the full sentence.
Absolutely. But go on, be brave, have a go. Just put classical and a number. Both and a number. Don't have to wait to have done them all. Just do the one. If you spot one, jot it down.
We've got some thinkers in there as well, like where could they kind of fit? So you've got Locke, where would you fit classical or modern?
Ooh, here we go then. So, everyone's being a bit quiet in the chat window. It's like last week. Hopefully people will warm up a little bit as we go. Shall we have a look then? Shall we start with our thinker? Have we just got the one thinker on there?
Yeah.
So Locke, we know, is a classical liberal. So yeah, that should be
there.
good.
Human nature is rational.
Human nature is rational.
Yeah, I think that's something that kind of unites them as an ideology. They both have faith in human, don't they?
Yeah, shall we try and spot if there's another one or two that are for both? The state is necessary. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we always think of liberalism as wanting a limited state, but they're not anarchists. They do think there needs to be a state of some sort, even those that want a sort of night watchman minimal state. So I think the state is necessary, must be for both.
Yeah.
And what about the individual being sovereign? Yeah. Liberalism. What sort of... Sorry.
That's the ideology, right? That's the centre of liberalism as an idea. It's an individualistic ideology. It might differ on the nature of individualism and social responsibility and things like that, but it definitely is united by this idea that the individual is the centre of everything.
Yes. And I think sometimes when students struggle a little bit with, well, kind of what's the difference between sort of modern liberalism and kind of social democracy or third way or whatever, and it's that emphasis on the individual. Certainly the difference in social democracy would be a good way of understanding that difference. I know we don't need to compare the ideas, but it's sometimes when we're describing them, you can think, oh, well, you know, you can end up describing modern liberalism as if it were the same as social democracy, and it is different, and that individualism is that key issue. Shall we have a look? Shall we solve the wall?
Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah.
Okay.
Were we right?
I hope so. Oh, there was rolls there as well. I couldn't see rolls on there.
In there. It wasn't on the first one. Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Oh, I know why. Yeah, there have to be 8. Somehow there are 9. I don't even know how the numbering's working on there. But anyway, let's not worry about it unduly. How are there 9 and it adds up to 8? How then? Anyway, let's not worry. Okay. there they are. So, anything you want to talk us through there, Ciara, or happy with those?
The classical liberalism one, equality should only be foundational, is quite an interesting idea. So they both agree with equality, of course. So if I just put equality, it could have just been there. But this foundational equality is quite important. It's that you're kind of born equal, and the rest of your life is determined by, according to classical liberals, the choices you make. Whereas modern liberals, as we can see, the balance of that is justice, is fairness, is that wealth hasn't always been evenly distributed, and some people are trapped in poverty. So equality should be more about giving opportunities. I think that's quite an interesting distinction. It could go together, but as you go into the detail of the definition of equality, you start to pull it apart.
Absolutely. Okay, fab stuff. Okay, shall we go on to the next activity. We've got a timeline of the key thinkers. Now, we're putting them in birth order, although we've got two born in 1921, so I suppose it's life order, lifetime order. But if we can try and put these key thinkers in order, you don't need to know the exact dates necessarily, although all knowledge is good if you do know their dates. Absolutely share it. But it is useful to know when they came and in what order they came, because a lot of the changes that happen through all the ideas happen over time, and as things change in society and society changes, the ideas adapt. It's not that this classical liberalism still exists. There are still classical liberals, but over time the idea adapts and changes. So it's useful to know, whether Rawls was before or after Rousseau, for example. Rousseau shouldn't be there. Oh, well, I suppose there. I know why I put Rousseau there. It's my fault. Rousseau isn't, of course, one of our key thinkers on the spec, but we wanted 6, and there are 5 on the spec. So we've added another liberal, and it's one some of you might know from nationalism. He is a liberal. He doesn't count as a key thinker, but you can talk about any liberals, of course, in your in your essays, as long as you do make sure. This is specifically for EdXL, but there's similar issues with AQA as well, and make sure that you do name in EdXL at least 2 of the key thinkers. AQA, make sure that you do mention some of the key thinkers. Okay, so we've got these dates. Can we put them in order? Ciara, do you want to join in with this? Because I'm not sure whether we'll just have to see whether people want to join. If people start joining in, that'd be brilliant, but we'll have a go at these activities in lieu of anyone else having a go. So who's the earliest? I know.
Yeah, I thought, John Locke was quite a foundational figure in liberalism, wasn't he? And he talked about the ideas of a limited state, being able to hold your state to account and things like that. So I think thinking about Rousseau, he was kind of influenced and continued that on. So Locke must come first.
Absolutely. So again, Locke first, and then it gets slightly tricky as we get into the sort of the 18th century, trying to exactly position where people are. Obviously, Rousseau was a big influence on the French Revolution.
And Mary Wollstonecraft. She read a lot of Rousseau's work, and she was initially quite inspired by him until she read.
some of his work isn't as feminist as it might be. So yeah, that's true.
Talking about the role of women is to obey, and she's like, "Oh, I might not like this guy so much."
Gone off Rousseau now.
He's gone off him, So he's definitely older than her.
Yes, yeah, but there's probably might be a bit of an overlap. Of years. Yeah. And then we've probably got Mill after that, I would have thought. I always think of Mill as a 19th century thinker, Victorian type thinker. And then we do have our problem of two people being born in 1921.
Good old Betty and John, another John, yeah.
Yeah, so it's either Rawls or Frieda. Shall we have a look and see what order they come in? Yeah, so there we go. So we were right. Fortunately, that's good to see. And it is useful to know. I mean, it doesn't matter which one between Rawls and Frieda or whatever. You don't need to know what year people died, but it's useful to know that they were 20th century writers and thinkers. Mill was a 19th century writer and thinker. Rousseau, you don't need to know about him particularly, but that there were a number of these key thinkers, like liberal thinkers, who were influencing the French Revolution and things in the 18th century, and Mary Wollstonecraft. And obviously Locke is that kind of foundational thinker, who's playing a similar role in liberalism than perhaps Hobbes does for conservatism. This kind of starting point, if you like, for the ideology as far as our key thinkers here are concerned. Okay.
I did many essays at university comparing Hobbes and Locke. So if you're going to study politics at uni, be prepared. um,
And be prepared for it possibly not to always seem exactly the same as what you were learning in A level, actually, as well.
yeah, it's interesting actually
Yeah,
revisiting
you
it
might.
with different lens, definitely.
Yeah, you might
So
get a
this is
different take on Hobbes in particular, probably. But
yeah, possibly, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, this is one of the new activities that we've just created, which I'm really excited about. So it's called quote unquote. So you're basically going to see a quote on the screen, and sometimes it could be an aspect of the quote that's blanked out, and sometimes it could be the author who's blanked out. And your job is to basically see if you can fill in the blank, basically. And although it's not important necessarily, it's not required within the specification that you directly quote thinkers. I find it can be quite helpful because one, it shows good knowledge to have some small quotes, but also by putting a quote in, you end up actually having to explain the quote, which can develop your analysis and things like that. So it can be helpful.
definitely. And also, we sometimes say you don't want to just sort of name drop the thinker or use them just as a cipher for the for a strand. You know, like liberal thinkers like Rawls, and then just say a general liberal thinker's point. So if you can use a quote, then you are automatically using the thinker, aren't you, rather than just kind of attaching them to a particular strand and not really saying anything about them. Fab. Let's have a look at these. I like this activity, so I'm looking forward
Me
to
too, yeah.
it. Incidentally, if you're watching this on your phone or something, sometimes you can't do the live chat because you've kind of got it filling up your whole screen. But this is a good one to get involved with. So maybe after you've read the quote, you can turn your phone round so you can see the live chat and join in. It'd be good to get people's thoughts.
Okay, we now know who the person is. That bit's not blanked out. So it's John Locke, and he argued all mankind being all equal and independent, no one ought to harm another in his life, liberty, or what? What were the three main things that Locke talked about? I chose this one deliberately because it was plagiarized or adapted, sorry, by the Americans. So the Americans changed this. This is the word that they changed within this quote actually to enshrine it in their constitution of their new country. So what is it that Locke wrote rather than Jefferson?
Oh, and there was me thinking. I'm doubting myself. I was about to give what I thought was the answer, but then I'm thinking, oh, am I thinking the American Constitution rather than the original Locke quote?
Yeah, the American Constitution one was a Will Smith film, so that helps.
Oh, right. Oh, that's confused me further. which one? All right. Well, I'm gonna say because this is when I'm thinking we talked about studying it at university. When we study at university, if you've got like an old Marxist lecturer who was talking about liberalism being essentially the ideology of capitalism, they always point out the fact that liberals are mostly obsessed about property rights, and so I'm
Mm,
thinking the missing word there is property.
yeah,
Is
that
that
sounds
right?
about yes, property.
It is. So what
Yeah,
was the other one?
the pursuit of happiness.
Oh, pursuit of
I think
happiness, of course. Yeah, liberty and the pursuit
uh,
of happiness. Yeah, yeah,
I think they were
yeah.
worried that by having property, people would think they were entitled to property, and they were like, "We don't want to have any mistakes." No.
No, no. Okay, it's a good quote though, isn't it? And a good one to mention
Mm,
that idea about property rights and that being a
yeah,
significant factor for classical liberals in particular. But all liberals are interested in freedom of
yeah, and this
property.
is
But
a key natural right as well. I wouldn't remember the whole quote, but just life,
no,
liberty, and property. These are the three natural rights. These are the things that the state is only limited in protecting those three things. It's not an interventionist state where it helps people. It just protects them. It's kind of like a negative freedom kind of perspective.
fantastic. Okay, let's look at the next one. Oh, we got a bit of the quote and the thinker this time.
Yeah, maybe this is a bit mean, I don't know. But so over himself, over his own body and mind, the individual is. So we saw that word actually in one of the earlier activities. And this key thinker is one of the main advocates who push forward these ideas of individualism, talking a lot about free speech as well and the freedom to make your own choices.
Now, I think that's quite a good clue as to who it is, because it's probably how we use this thinker the most is a particular sort of concept or principle we associate with this thinker, and that links nicely to this quote. It's another good reason why you might use it. So we took, as you said, in the categorized activity, we had the idea about the individual being sovereign. So I think that's the missing word, isn't it? But who said it? Well, let's hope I'm right. After having said this about the key principle that I think this relates to, I'm thinking it's John Stuart Mill, and you could link it nicely with the harm principle and that idea that the freedom to swing my fist ends at your nose, or something like that. It's something like that, isn't it? There's another nice quote. Yeah.
It's a very interesting idea, actually. Yeah. And it's John Stuart Mill.
Very good. Okay. So we just need to know who said this one. It's a concept we associate with this thinker.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept as well. So the principle of justice are chosen behind a veil of ignorance. So the argument that you can only really have a just society if it benefits the worst off in society. And if we imagined we were in a secret room and we were deciding what the key laws and distribution of things were and so forth, and the veil of ignorance is we don't know what our race, our gender, our sexuality, our ability and everything would be, you would choose for people who are worst off, right? So because you don't know which cards you're going to be dealt. So I think it's a really interesting idea and an interesting thought experiment.
Absolutely. And it was John Rawls, yeah. No. Okay.
Very modern liberal kind of thinking.
Yeah, that Rawlsian principle. Yeah. And so it does mean you would want a more equal society, wouldn't you? If you don't know if you didn't know whether you were going to be poor or rich, you'd want to make sure that there was stuff there for the poor. yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you've gone for Captain Riddles, Ciara. This is it's a Cheat Stew classic, but I don't think we've used it for politics before.
We never have, yeah.
No, so we've got a nice aggressive superhero about to appear on the screen. Let's see what's going to happen.
He's aggressive. I don't know why he did that, right?
I know. But what's he going to do anyway?
What's he going to do? He's going to fly across the sky. And as he flies across, I don't know how he's doing it, but he's going to leave a trail of letters, which is basically a clue. So you're going to have 3 clues, and you have to work out what the riddle is, what the answer is. Okay, so there is some agreement across the ideology
about this thing, whatever this thing might be.
Should have finished that sentence. No,
that's all right. No, it's okay. There's quite a lot of things that liberals agree about, aren't there?
It's useless clue, Captain Riddles, I have to say.
On its own, it doesn't get you. So we've already said earlier that they might agree about human nature. They might agree that there needs to be a state. They might agree that capitalism is the economic system that we need to use. They might agree that people have a right to life, liberty, and property. That's quite a lot. Limited, a limited state, at least. Obviously, classical liberals even more so. But they all believe that the state shouldn't be overreaching or over too big. Shall we have another look?
Let's have another one. Hopefully, it gets better. Disagreement now. Whoops. So disagreement forms when it conflicts with freedom. Okay.
Oh. That is interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Some agreement on it, but they disagree when it's to do with freedom. It's interesting.
Yeah. That immediately makes me start to think about those different types of freedom. The sort of positive and negative freedom. What sort of thing do liberals end up disagreeing about when it comes to that? I suppose there's still potentially more than one thing. But if anyone's got an idea, type it in there. Last one. This one normally gives it away.
hopefully. Okay, that's better. Yes, that's a more useful clue. So
Yeah.
many indicate that it should be limited.
Okay, so it must be the state. Shall we see?
Must be. It's gonna hit us again. Oh,
Thanks for that, Captain Riddles.
the state. Okay, nice. So we can see with a criteria for an essay, the state is excellent because you could talk about the agreement. It should exist. It has a role. They're not anarchists, and then the disagreement that well, what's the extent of its role, enabling or limited?
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, we've got one final activity. It's a bit of fun, but there are some key terms, and we'll need to make sure we know what those key terms are. So it's basically a key term activity, a fun, but using something that's a little bit like Richard Osman's House of Games Answer Smash, but of course it's completely different. It's Word Smash. So you'll get a picture and a clue. This is the example, which has nothing to do with politics. You've got an elephant and a clue that leads you to Antarctica, and you smash those together to make Elephantarctica. It'll make more sense when we see it with a politics clue, hopefully. So the pictures have nothing to do with politics, but the clues do. Okay, so we've got a road sign of some sort, and we've got the classical liberal approach to the state. Well, we've just been talking about that, so that might help. What's that road sign mean, though?
Also helping you with your driving test, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of which, Ciara, do you know what that road sign, what that road sign means?
It's something to do with weight, right? Like,
Yeah,
is it like no bigger than 7.5 tons, right?
yeah. So you can't. So that would be a weight what?
Oh, wait, limits. Yes.
Yes. So then it becomes weight limited government. Yeah. So weight limit and limited government becomes weight limited government. Okay, we got the gist now. Let's try it with this one. Now that is a shamrock or a four-leaf clover, but I'm thinking of something more general. What might a four-leaf clover also be? And then we've got Mill's key idea about liberty, something we've already talked about.
Okay, so
I, I could
closer.
I could have put an American breakfast cereal if that helps.
Lucky Charm.
Yeah. So Lucky Charm, and what's the key Mill's key idea?
Need, Lucky Charm. Harm principle.
Yay! So
Yay.
the Lucky Charm principle. It's the harm principle.
That
So
was,
that's
yeah.
yeah, that's that point we already made about the you can do things to yourself or self-regarding actions, but not ones that get in the way of other people's individual liberty. Okay, final one. It's a modern liberal approach to macroeconomics. And we have a picture of a city in southern England,
Uh, it's,
which
uh,
which has a lot of roundabouts and a kind of modern
oh,
sort of
okay.
grid.
That. Milton Keynes.
It is Milton Keynes, and so it becomes Milton Keynesianism. Milton Keynes, which of course is actually named after Keynes. It is actually named after John Maynard Keynes
Oh, I didn't know that.
and Milton Friedman. So a nicely contradictory city name. It's named after a neoliberal and a Keynesian. It's like an answer smash in itself. Is Milton Keynes?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, but yes, it's Milton Keynesianism or Keynesianism, however you wish to pronounce it. Okay, but you wouldn't say Milton Keynes, would you? So that's why I went down the thing. Okay. And I think that was our last one. Yeah, so thanks very much, Ciara. I'm sorry it was a bit stressful at the start there with the nothing working and the... I don't know what went wrong there. My microphone and camera just packed up. And then somehow, after restarting and unplugging various things and turning them off and on again, suddenly, as we were doing the countdown, everything came back on. We made it. We made it. I've got 15 minutes before a sociology one, so I hope it doesn't break again in the in the meantime. Well, half an hour really, but 15 minutes before the pre-show. So thanks very much, Ciara. Is nice weather? Is it nice weather in Brazil today?
Thunderstorms and
Oh,
very
really?
heavy rain. Yeah.
Oh right. Well, I won't feel too. I mean, it's a
You
bit,
feel
it's a
better
bit,
about.
it's a bit parky, but I don't feel too jealous if you've got thunderstorms and heavy rain. Yeah. Okay. Um, well, thanks very much. Thank you for joining us, and I can I can hear you're at school. Is it lunch break or something?
Yeah,
I'm
the
trying to,
children
yeah,
are running around.
the time differences. Okay. Well, thanks very much, and thanks to the people watching for for staying with us, and hopefully you got stuff out of that, even if you didn't join in with the activities. Next time, join in with the activities. Do it. Okay. Thanks very much. So we're not around next week or the week after. Is that right? But I believe that's what we said. But in a couple of weeks' time, actually, it might be not till after February half term now. We are doing a socialism on at some point, but I can't remember when. I'll let you know when we're doing it. It's just because we've got some other things coming up in the next things like Ciara hasn't because she's in Brazil, but I've got CPD next week, so in London. So it's a little bit of time before the next one. I will. Your teachers know, and it'll come up on the thing, especially if you click the notification and like it and stuff, and then you'll get you'll be alerted to when the next video is. Okay, cheers everybody. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you very
Bye.
much. See you later.